Hi friends, good morning. This is Hashmat Ma'am. Today's topic in Histories, Unit 2, Ancient Civilizations. What is civilization? A society which has its own highly developed culture and way of life. What is civilization? A society which has its own highly developed culture and way of life. Today, we are going to discuss about the ancient civilization. Among four are very important that we are going to be discuss. Early world civilizations. Ancient civilizations. Civilization is seen as an advanced, organized way of life. As civilization began to take shape, huge buildings were built, the art of writing developed, and science and technology contributed to the betterment of society. The Egyptian, the Mesopotamian, the Chinese, and the Indus were the important early civilization. What are that? The Egyptian, the Mesopotamian, the Chinese, and the Indus Valley civilization. They were the important one. While these civilizations flourished in certain regions, the people in other parts of the world lived as hunter-gatherers and pastoralists. What is a pastoralist? A sheep or cattle farmer. Okay. So here they have discussed you about ancient civilization. The four types we are going to be talk. The first one is the Egyptian civilization. As one of the oldest civilization, the Egyptian civilization is known for its monumental architecture, their agriculture, art, science and crafts at a early stage. Actually, where the Egypt is lying? Egypt lies in the northeastern corner of the African continent. Egypt, it lies in the eastern border of the African continent. It is bounded by Red Sea. This is Red Sea and this is in the eastern border. Mediterranean Sea in the northern border. Egypt is irrigated by River Nile. River Nile is a major one to the Egypt because this Egyptian civilization depended solely upon the flow of River Nile only. Hence, Egypt was called as a gift of the Nile by the Greek historian Herodotus. He is the father of the Greek historian. The Nile also served as a means of transport. The Nile Valley is very rich and fertile as the river deposits fresh alluvium every year. Egypt became intimately connected with the Sangam age, Tamilagam by the sea route. Now let us see what is pharaohs, society and administration. To whom we called as a pharaohs. The Egyptian king was known as a pharaoh. The people treated pharaoh as a divine form, that is like a god. Under the pharaoh, there was a hierarchy of officials including viziers. Viziers means they were the high officials in some Muslim countries. Example, Turkey. Okay, the viziers, high officials, the governors of provinces, local mayors and tax collectors. The Egyptians, they believed in life after death. Therefore, they preserved the dead body. The Egyptians, what they did? They believed in a life after death. Therefore, they preserved the dead body. That art of preserving the dead body is known as mummification. What is mummification? The Egyptians, those who believed, they preserved the dead bodies. The art of preserving the dead body is known as a mummification. How the shape? It is like a pyramids. And tombs were built to preserve the body of the pharaohs. Pharaohs mean the kings of the Egyptians. The famous Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. The mask of his mummy made up of gold and decorated with precious stones is an important artifact of the Egyptian civilization. Look at the picture of this Tutankhamen. The mask of Tutankhamen, it's made up of a gold. Look at the body, the mummified body of Tutankhamen. So it was covered with a mask, entire with gold and the other diamond jewelries. The next part is agriculture and trade. The Egyptians cultivated wheat, barley, millets, vegetables, fruits, papyrus and cotton. What is that papyrus? It's a kind of reed. The Egyptian, they wrote on the leaves of a plant. That's called as a papyrus, a kind of reed. They will use the papyrus for making rope, mats, sandals and later for producing paper. What they domesticated? They domesticated sheep, cattle, goats and pigs and hunted the wild animals. Look at this map. Mediterranean Sea in the north, River Nile, and the Red Sea in the eastern side of the River Nile, where the Egyptian people's pharaohs they survived. This is the cities of the Egyptian civilization. Now look at that mummies. Mummies of Egypt. They preserve dead body is called the mummy. What is called mummy? The preserved dead body is called as a mummy. The preservation process is called as a mummification. The body was stored in a stone coffin called as sarcophagus. Look at the cultivations, how they plowed. The farmers during the period of 1200 BC, that is before Common Era BCE. The depiction of grain harvest, how they harvested the grains. Now look at the art and architecture of these Egyptians. This is one of your important first question of your short answers, brief. The Egyptians excelled in art and architecture. Their rating is also a form of art. Numerous sculptures, painting and carvings attest to the artistic skills of the Egyptians. The pyramids, they are the massive monuments built as a tombs of mourning to the pharaohs. The great pyramids near Cairo are known as the Giza pyramid. This is the Giza pyramid. Okay. This is the great pyramid of Giza. Look at the height of this. You are finding a phoenix. The picture of this. The great phoenix of Giza is a massive limestone image of a lion with a human head. It is dated to the time of Pharaoh Khafre, that is Khufu. It is one of the largest sculptures of the world and measures 73 meters in length and 20 meters in height. Okay, this is a view of Phoenix with the Great Pyramid, Egypt. The religions. The Egyptian practiced polytheism. They worshipped many gods, but the sun god Re was the predominant one. Later on, the sun god, which is called as a Ammon. Philosophy, science and literature. The Egyptian civilization excelled in science, literature, philosophy, astronomy, mathematics and the measurement system. Sundial, water clock and glass were developed by the Egyptians. They devised a solar calendar that consisted of 12 months of 30 days each, with 5 days added to the end of a year. And the Egyptian is also distinguished themselves in painting, art, sculpture, pottery, music and weaving. Look at the gods, ancient Egyptian gods. Ammon, that is finally they worship started to sun god. Seth, Thoth, statue of Horus and the Anubis. Their writing system, it's one of the important one. Detail answer one part. The Egyptians are well known for the writing system. Their form of writing is known as hieroglyphic. Look at the system. Hieroglyphic streaked on Rosetta Stone. Hieroglyphic. This form of writing used as a pictogram based system. Now this inscription is displayed in the British Museum, London. What are the characteristics and contributions of the Egyptian civilization? Finally, what they did. The Egyptians developed a solar calendar system. The pyramids and their design showed their mathematical and surveying skills, hieroglyphic writing system, and attested to their skills in handing symbols, preservation of human body in the form of mummies. They applied innovation in the use of science and technology. So finally, the entire thing, what about the Egyptian peoples, that it has been shown. Now we are going to talk about the Mesopotamian civilization, the second one. Mesopotamia. What is that? It refers to the region of Iraq and Kuwait in West Asia. Several kingdoms emerged around the city-states of this region, formed the early 3rd millennium BC. The Sumerian, the Akkadian, Babylonian and Assyrian civilization flourished in Mesopotamia. What is Mesopotamia? In the Greek language, Meso means in between. What is Meso? In between. Potamus means river. So the river Euphrates and the Tigris will flow here and drain into Persian Gulf. Since this area is between two rivers, it is known as Mesopotamia. The northern part of Mesopotamia is known as Assyria and the southern part is called as Babylonia. Now look at this structure. The northern part of this region is called as Mesopotamia is known as Assyria and southern part is known as called as Babylonian. So this is the map you are finding for this. Akkad and the Sumerians, Dilmun, Magdan and Meluha. So the first thing, Sumerians. The oldest civilization in Mesopotamia belonged to the Sumerians. They were the contemporaries of the people of Indus and the Egyptian civilization. They civilized, these civilizations had been trade connections with a good level. They founded many cities and Nippur was one of the important cities. They developed the cuneiform writing systems. The Akkadians, they dominated the Sumerians briefly from 2450 to 2250 BC. The Sargon of the Akkad was a famous ruler. Who was a great ruler? Sargon. The city of Akkad later became the city of Babylon, a commercial and cultural center of West Asia. Babylonians, the Semitic people called Amorites from the Arabian desert, moved into Mesopotamia. They were also known as the Babylonians as they established a kingdom and made Babylon its capital. What is the capital for this Babylonian? Babylon. By the time of King Hammurabi, they extended their domination to the western part of Mesopotamia. The powerful states of Ur and the Babylon, they controlled this region. Hammurabi, the sixth king of Babylon, belonging to the first Amorite dynasty, he attained the fame, that is famous as a great lawmaker. Who became as a great lawmaker? Hammurabi of Babylonian king. The next is Assyrian. This empire was politically active in Mesopotamia around 1000 BC. The Assyrian kings were the priests of the Ashur, the chief deity of Assyria. The Assyrian government was controlled by whom? By the emperor, and the provincial governors were appointed by the emperor to administer the provinces. Look at this. Mesopotamia and its cities. Mesopotamia and its cities. Their society, state and administration. The Sumerian civilization had many cities. The typical Sumerian city was surrounded by a cultivable land. The fortified Sumerian cities had the temples called ziggurat as its center. The temple was controlled by whom? By the priest. Ziggurats were pyramid-shaped monuments. Look at this, the diagram. Ziggurats were the pyramid-shaped monuments which found in ancient Mesopotamia, that is in modern Iraq. One of the most famous ziggurats of the time is one in the city of Ur. So not all the people were allowed to live in these cities. Food and agriculture. Agriculture was the main occupation of the Mesopotamians. They had developed irrigation systems and they cultivated the wheat, barley, onions, turnips, grapes, apples and dates. What they did, they domesticated the cattle, sheep and goats. Fish was also a part of their diet. What they did in trade and exchange. Trade was an important economic activity of the Mesopotamian society. They traded with Syria and Asia Minor in the west and Iran and the Indus Valley civilization in the east. They traveled in ships across the seas for the trade. What are the things? Now cities and town planning. The ziggurats were at the city center on a platform and appeared like a steep pyramids with staircases leading to the top. Their buildings like administrative buildings, storehouses has been built during this period. What are the religions of this Sumerian? The Sumerian religion was polytheistic. They worshipped several gods and goddesses. The city of Nippur was the center of the endless worship. Ninil was a Sumerian goddess of grain. The Babylonians worshipped Marduk, and Ashur was the supreme god of the Assyrians. The Ishtar was the goddess of love and fertility. So the kings were seen as representatives of God on the earth. The most famous of these epics of Gilgamesh, which is written in the cuneiform text. Look at the main, the Hammurabi's law code. As we have learnt already in the previous passage, Hammurabi was a great king, a lawgiver one. So his code is an important legal document that specifies the laws related to various crimes. It has around 282 provisions specifying cases related to family rights, trade, slavery, taxes, and wages. It is carved on a stone. Look at this. It is carved on a stone. Portrays Hammurabi as receiving the code from the sun god Shamash. It was a compilation of old laws based on the retributive principles. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's a form of justice is used in Hammurabi code. What is the code they have used? An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's a form of justice used in Hammurabi code. This is one of the cuneiform, the Sumerian writing system. The cuneiform is the Sumerian writing system. The shape of the letter is in the form of wedge, and hence it is called as the cuneiform. Evolving around 3000 BCE, it is one of the earliest scripts of the world. They used this script for commercial transaction and writing letters and stories. The clay tablets, which contain loads of information on the Sumerian civilization. Look at this, a clay tablet with accounts of sheep and goats from Tello, southern Iraq. What is the art of this? The Mesopotamian art include sculptures in stone and clay. Look at this. A few paintings and sculptures from Mesopotamian times have survived today. Look at this. The cuneiform from pictograph to the Assyrian side. Now, what is the science of them? The Mesopotamian excelled in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. They developed the concepts of multiplication, division, and cubic equation. The numerical system based on 60 was conceived by them. What is the 60? They were the ones to formulate the 60 minute per hour, the 24-hour day, and the 360-degree circle. The Sumerian calendar had 7 days in a week. Their numerical system had place values. They created the water clock and the lunar calendar, which is based on the movement of the moon. As Egyptians, they have searched that solar calendar. Here the Mesopotamians, they cleared with the lunar calendar. They also developed number of writings. They introduced the 12-month calendar system based on lunar months. Their contributions. The invention of the potter's wheel is credited to the Sumerians. They developed the calendar system of 360 days and divided a circle into 360 units. The cuneiform system of writing was their contribution. The Hammurabi's law code was another legacy of the Mesopotamians. So, among four, we have discussed now only the two civilizations. The next, the Chinese civilization and the Indus Valley civilization will be in the another class. Thank you guys. Please go through your video clips and then find out your answers. Thank you.